Hey everybody, welcome back to Pt13 Sparks. Today I thought it'd be cool to do something a little bit different. I haven't done a puzzle yet, I don't think, for D&D minis, so I thought it'd be cool to do one of those. First off, to get started, what you'll want to do is in your scenes tab, go ahead, change the unit that you'll want to work in. I'll be working in inches, and I have the scale of my grid floor to 1/4 of an inch. Now for this puzzle, I thought it'd be cool to basically have it set as a floor piece where the pegs are interchangeable, so you could have statues or other elements like that that can be moved, and you'll have to have the players figure out which pieces go where essentially. So to get started, I am actually going to go ahead and duplicate one of these basic floor pieces so that way we have that as an example. So I'm just going to do Shift D and then right click to just let it snap back where it was, and we're just going to hit M to move that to our empty layer. So I'm just going to do this one and hop over there, and it doesn't really matter where it is. I'm just going to push it off to the side, kind of over here, so that way I have it there for reference, but we won't really need to worry about it too much other than having our size available. To start, I'm going to do Shift A, mesh, and we're going to add just a plane. Now this is going to come in at 6 inches, which is way too big, so I'm going to do 1 inch and 1 inch. Now the nice thing about this puzzle is you guys can literally make any shape that you really want to. I'm going to be making one in this actual 4 square. So of course, like I said, you guys could do this almost any way you wanted to. So you could do 4 in a row or 5 or 6 or however many you wanted, or you could make them go in a circle, anything like that. So to do that, we're not going to do a mirror modifier or anything like that like we normally would. What we're going to do is add an array modifier. So I'm going to hop over here, click this wrench tab. Actually, real quick, I'm going to do this to floor puzzle. Oops, puzzle. Go to array, and you'll notice right away that it pops one right on the side here, and it's perfect. It's touching it. We do want that, so we don't have to change this relative offset at all. Now, if you're going to be doing one right in a row, you can go ahead and start cranking up the count to however many you want to do. For me, I'm going to leave mine at 2, so that way I have the 2 next to each other. Now, I can't add another one any other direction, so usually you could do, oh yeah, say you wanted to do it the other way, it'll start going diagonally. I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is add a second array modifier, and that'll just add it onto the end. So all we have to do is go down here, change this to 0, and for the Y, we'll go ahead and change that to 1, so we get our 4 square just like that. Now the last thing I want to do to these array modifiers is make sure that for both of them they have merge checked, so that way once we go and apply these later on, the mesh is all connected and there's no gaps or anything crazy like that. Okay, so now we can go ahead and we're going to tab into edit mode. I'm just going to focus in on it again. I'm going to hit E to extrude, and you'll notice that it's lighter on the way up, so that means our normals are going to be facing the right way this way. So I want this to be the same height as our square over here, which is 119. So what I'm going to do is type in 0.119 inches. Oops. 0.119 inches. There we go. So that way our floor piece is the same exact height as our other floor pieces, and we don't have to worry about that being anything crazy. So that way we can, if you wanted to lay it in with the other pieces, they're the same and it'll be great. Okay, gonna tab back into edit mode. And I want this to have kind of a frame around it. That way it looks a little bit more decorative. So all I want to do is have our top square selected, and I'm going to hit E to extrude and just right click so it stays as is. I'm just going to go ahead and size that in, and I'm going to go to about here most likely. Now when you're doing this, just make sure that whatever you are placing in here has enough space. So of course you want to make sure it's thick enough that it prints out nice and pretty, so I'm going to make mine a little bit more dramatic, but just keep in mind the size of whatever you're putting in here. I'm just going to switch to face select mode. Alt right click this loop here, go into front view, hit E to extrude, and I'm just going to pull that up, maybe right about here, So that way it sticks up over the floor pieces. So it kind of is a little bit more unique looking. Now, I don't want them touching though. I want it to kind of look like stones that are rounded off. So what I found to be easiest is I'm just going to grab the two opposing sides and hit switch down here, the pivot point. We have to change this to individual origins. Just go ahead and hit SX, and that will size that in and it won't draw towards each other. So right about there. And then I'm going to do that to the opposing sides again, S and Y, and size those in as well. Cool. Now before we continue, I'm going to go ahead and change this back to median point, and I'm just going to go ahead and deselect. Now, I want to add a little bit more detail to this, so I'm going to go ahead and do Control R and scroll up twice so that way we get 3 loops. And I'm just going to left click, right click so they stay right in the center. Do S and X and size those in to about there. I'm going to do the same thing here, so S and Y. Size those in until we get nice little squares here. Control R to get our corners. Just like this. Now all I want to do is grab, oops, not that one, these edges in the center, go to our front view and pull those down so that way our stones look a little bit more separated. Now I think these are a little bit too tall, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to face select mode and bring them down a little bit. Now of course you don't have to do that, you can make them whatever height you want. But I think I want mine to be more like this. Yeah, that looks better. Now, of course, if you're interested, you could pop this into sculpt mode, add a lot more texture to this so that way it looks more stone-like. But for mine, I want it to be pretty clean, especially since our stone walls are pretty clean and the stone floor seal that we made a few videos ago has a nice crisp look to it. So I'm just going to kind of stick with that theme and not take this into sculpt mode, but feel free to make it a little bit more natural looking if you're interested. So the last thing we need to do is actually add the peg hole for where our statues will be. Now technically you don't really have to make a peg hole if you're doing some sort of statue or something like these guys, but if you want something a little bit different, then you probably will. So it really just depends on what you're creating. So for mine, I'm going to be doing kind of like a peg that you guys will see in the thumbnail, and we'll model in just a second. Okay, to make the peg hole is really easy. Since we already added these loops, these 4 faces right here, all we have to do is size them out until we get the peg hole size that we want. So I really want mine to be about this size, so it's a little bit exaggerated. Actually, I don't know if I want it that big, maybe more like this. And the other thing to consider, actually, we'll go ahead and extrude that first. So I'm just gonna hit Z for wireframe view, do E to extrude. We're gonna draw that down to almost 3/4 of the way through, so that way we still have a good base here. Maybe like that, but we have plenty of depthness for it to go into. So if you want, you could certainly change the angle to 45 degrees as well to give it a little bit of variation. So I want to do that. So if we do rotate 45, just like that, so that way our peg can be straight and all the backs will essentially be facing each other, and they'll be kind of in a circle, if that makes sense, which you'll see what exactly, it'll be a little bit clearer later on. Sorry if that's a little confusing. All right, but our floor piece is completed, and now we can focus on what is actually going to be fitting into these peg holes. So now that it's finished, we can apply our modifiers. So if you want to duplicate it so that way you can go back and make changes, you certainly can. I'm probably going to go ahead and do that and just apply our array modifiers and make sure that they applied properly. So if we grab this You can see that they are definitely connected. Perfect. So our floor piece is complete. And I'm just gonna go ahead and actually delete this. We don't need that extra floor piece, so I'm just gonna delete that out of there. And I'm just gonna push this to the side. Now, for our pegs, what we can do is Shift A, cube, and it's gonna start out at 6 inches again, which again is really, really large. So just to size this down. I'm gonna pull that over, switch to wireframe view. Size it down again. I'm going to hit rotate 45 degrees. So that way we can start lining this up. Now I want it to be a little bit smaller than the hole that we are creating, just to give it plenty of space. I'm going to go into front view so we can make sure it's the right depth. So again, we'll leave a little bit of space. I'm going to tab into edit mode and bring this down to about here. I want it to be a little bit higher, probably. I don't want to be that high. Maybe right about there. Just a little bit extra. Okay. Now that it's set, I'll just go ahead, rotate it back. And then, instead of dragging it over, to get it to the origin, all we have to do is hit origin to 3D cursor, geometry to origin, and it's right back there for us. Perfect. Let's tab into edit mode, and we're just going to hit, with our top face selected, E to extrude. I'm just going to pull that up slightly and do SX and size that out to maybe about right there. So it's just under 1/2 inch for the width. And of course, if you wanted, you can make it a little larger. Okay, pull it down, make it a little bit flatter, that kind of thing. Okay, so next, all I want to do is hit E to extrude, and we'll figure out our height. So this bottom part doesn't really count for the height because this is going to be sunken into the floor anyway. Our real height is going to be from this point to this point. So we can do this and drag this down. I'm going to leave it a little bit above the red and count. So we know that our scale of the grid floor is 1/4 inch. So 1, 2, 3. So 1/4, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, which is probably tall enough. I might do a little bit past, something like that. And we can start adding in our shape. So I want to do Control R, bring this up, do S and X, and cinch that in to about here. Control R, size this out, size this back in, Control R, SX, Control R, add a center loop to pull this up. Now what I want to do is go over here to add modifier, and we're going to do a subdivision surface modifier. I want to change the view up to 3, and of course that's personal preference. 3 usually works out the best for me. And I do want to sharpen a lot of these edges, and then we can add in some more detail. So sharpen these. Need to sharpen this bottom piece. Sharpen all of this. So it's this whole loop. Oh, and don't forget this edge either. Perfect. So we have kind of a ellipse on top of this triangle-ish shape. I want to do Control R, pull this down to about here. And I want to add in some of the ridges, kind of like what we did with our arches. So if we do Control R and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops, we can go ahead and do Alt right click on every other one. Do S, Shift Z to size them out. I'm going to make mine pretty dramatic. And then again, go through and sharpen. Now you do notice that it extrudes out or sizes out much further on the x-axis. So if you want to fix that, I would say do S and Y. But I don't know if I want it that dramatic, so we might draw the X in a little bit to be more like that. Awesome. And I might even do another loop here and one here and drag that down a little bit. So we have another one there. Now, for the different puzzles itself, remember how for our floor seal, we had it as, where is it? Different elements. So we had our dragon speech around this circle. So it was like spirit, fire, water, earth, and air. So I was kind of thinking for our 4 puzzle pieces, so our pegs, we could do 5 of them, so that way it's a little bit more of a puzzle too. So there's an extra piece, they have to figure out what goes where. We could put each of the beginning letters, so we'll put F for fire, W for water, E for earth, and S for spirit into these opposing sides. So, or just one side, since it's all going to be in a circle anyway, it might be better to have it facing out to add another level of mystery to it as well. So actually, yeah, let's do that. So what we want to do first, I'm going to name this peg. We're going to do Shift D, and we're going to want 5 of these. So, and now we can worry about our letters. So just like before, all we have to do is Shift A and add in text. Before I start typing, I'm going to go over here to our font, go down here to our regular, and navigate to our dragon speech. Oh, sorry, Dovahkiin. So we'll just go ahead and tab. Lowercase and uppercase doesn't make a difference in this instance, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit E for earth and tab out of edit mode. And I'm going to change this to E so I know what it is. Just going to do Shift D, pull this over, tab in edit mode, and do F for, F for fire, and go ahead and rename this. Shift D, push this over. This one can be S for spirit. So we'll tab in edit mode, change that to S. Shift D, push this over. We'll do W for water. I keep hitting enter instead of tab again, sorry. So E, earth, fire, water, spirit, and air. So we'll do Shift D one last time, tab in edit mode, do A, oops, did it again, and change this to A. So that way we know which is which, because I don't know about you, but I do not have dragon speech memorized, so it's not gonna work. We're just gonna go ahead and select all of them, go into side view and hit rotate 90, but you'll notice it rotated down. So I'm just gonna hit the negative sign so that way it's facing up. Awesome. Go ahead, push these in front, and to make them into meshes instead of curves, we'll go ahead and do Alt C and do mesh from curve. Now we can size them. So I'm just gonna go ahead, go into front view. Actually, let me go ahead and tab in edit mode, select everything, hit E to extrude, and we'll go ahead and pull it forward just like that. So tab back out, push this in, and I'm gonna go ahead and just size these individually since they're so different anyway. We'll just size them as needed. So I'm gonna hit Z for wireframe view so I can look at the wireframe. Be a little bit easier so it's not the gray on gray. So maybe have this one like that. And I want to sink this in pretty deep because I'm going to have this etched out instead of a bump out. And of course you guys can take your pick. So I'm gonna do S and Y and increase this because I want it to go pretty deep. Probably like halfway through would be good. And I'm probably gonna increase the size again because I want it to be fairly large. And we can go ahead and do that for the next one. So size this down, tab into edit mode, E to extrude, focus in, and oops, helps if I can see it. Okay, yeah, we'll definitely want it this size. Grab this, focus in on it, size that up, side view, push it back so it's actually in the peg, and we can line it up with this line again, so that way they're all the same depth, which will be nice. So it's always good to kind of try and use these as your extra grid lines essentially, or at least that's what I try to do. Okay, so another one, tab into edit mode, E to extrude, tab back out of edit mode, pull it back, size it down, and just repeat as necessary. So keep that. Make sure it goes deep enough. Perfect. And the nice thing about using a font like this is you don't have to worry about having to remake new ones for every letter. So that way if you're trying to do something in common, it's like, well, it says this and this and this, but you know. Or if it is actually a language that they don't know, it'll be easier that way. So they literally just can't read it because I don't know about you, but I don't know anyone that actually can speak the Dovahkiin language. Which is pretty funny, but just size this down again. If they do, props to them. Right about there. And pull that forward. Awesome. So, as per usual, we will want Boolean modifiers, so we can apply our subdivision surface modifiers. I'm just going to go ahead and save this real quick and apply, so that way we don't have anything crazy going on. I'm just going to select all of these, do Control A, rotation and scale, add modifier, Boolean. We're going to change the operation to difference and select our first one. So the first one's E, so I'm going to go ahead and hide that and make sure it cut out properly, which it did. So I'm just going to hit apply and just do that down the line. So Boolean, difference, F, hide that one, it cut out, hit apply, Boolean, difference. I almost did union. I'm so used to doing union, which is pretty bad, but whatever works, I guess. Boolean, difference, W, apply, and last one, difference, dang it, difference, A, hide that, apply. Perfect. Now, of course, you could always add in more decorations, that kind of thing, but this is just to kind of get you guys started. And then we can test it out. So I'm going to do rotate 45 degrees. So that one would be facing out, so that one would fit right into there, which it is in the wrong position because we moved it to the center. So we'll have to kind of finagle it a little bit. But you guys get the gist of how it would work. Nice. So I'm just gonna pop 4 of these in there real quick. I'm gonna rotate 45, do negative. Just like that. And then you can grab all of this, move it to the front layer, and see how you like it. So I want this in here. Oh, which I moved the extra peg, so you could always have that laying on the floor or something like that. And the other thing is, I don't know if you would want this to be set in, but it's nice because you can have the, oh geez, you can have this so it's either set right on top of the floor tiles, so it can be anywhere you want, or it could be sunken in, so you could get rid of some of these. It's really up to you, but that's why we made it the same height as these, so they can be interchangeable. But other than that, I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you wanted to do the statues, of course, you don't really have to make the pegs, but if you're interested, all you would really have to do is take that same cube from the peg, and then you could add a Boolean modifier on it and do the union and then select the peg and do that. So there's so many variations of puzzles that this little piece could do for you. It's pretty crazy. So this is a very simple one. I'm pretty excited to print this out and try it and see how it works. I might add in some more decoration, but I just kind of wanted to give you guys a rundown of the basic part of it and then see what you guys came up with. So like I said, if you ever do tutorials like this and you want to show me what you made, feel free to tag me on Twitter or Instagram or anything like that and show me your creations, or even my Discord. If you guys have questions and want to hit me up directly, I'm always going to be more responsive through Discord. So I'll share the link down below. You guys are more than happy, or you guys are more than welcome to join Discord, and there's a special channel just for asking about Blender through there. And of course, you guys can share your pictures on Discord as well. Other than that, I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and feel free to shoot out any questions or suggestions of what you'd like to see. And I will see you guys next week.